Hello. Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to another one of these Light and Land live stream sessions. You know who I am by now, I hope. And we're joined tonight by Mr. Charlie Waite. Charlie, hello.
Hello, good evening to you, Sam. Thank you for hosting us.
You're very welcome. And of course, Astrid McGeechan is with us as well. Astrid, you are
Evening.
not in great condition. It's a big thank you for coming because I know you've been very unwell and we've dragged you to this. So thank you for joining us. But hopefully we're going to get through this half an hour, 40 minutes or so, talking about all things exhibition, aren't we? That's the plan tonight.
That's the plan, yes. Thank you for having us. And yes, I've been a bit unwell, but it's just about good enough for
Good enough
for an hour.
Good enough for jazz, as they say. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, listen, tonight, everyone, we are doing this live. So that means everyone watching along, if you have any queries as we go, please put them in the comments, either on Facebook and or on YouTube, if you're watching on there. If you're watching on catch up, as it were, after the fact, we've got a number of questions that have come into us already that we're going to cover in this first section. And it will be a mix of Charlie and Astrid answering some practical things about the exhibition. And just to be very clear, we're talking about the exhibition that we are hosting at the Mall Galleries September 2nd to the 7th of 2024, obviously. And there are a good number of spaces already gone, sold, but there are some spaces still available. So either if you're thinking of joining and you still have some queries that you'd like covering before you commit, and or you may already have committed and you just might want a little recap or some queries answering, or just to hear what other people are asking, that's probably quite useful as well, then this session tonight will be of use for you. Hopefully we'll cover all the remaining questions that have cropped up in the last couple of live streams and have come in as emails in between, but we are here to answer anything else. If you can think of those live, hit them in the comments, like I say. If you're watching on catch up and even you get through all of this and we still haven't answered a question that you have burning, then do send an email to the office, admin@lightandland.co.uk. That's probably the best address, and the team will get back to you about that. All right, so that's just a little bit of housekeeping, as it were, so everyone knows what we're doing here tonight. As usual, if you're joining us and you want to let us know where you're logging in from, do let us know. Barbara, fabulous with us as always. Mike in the Isle of Wight, Ken's over in the Isle of Sheppey, all the Isles well represented today. Any other Isles, feel free, and we'll have a hat trick of Isles. But let's jump into some of the questions that have already been sent to us. But as I say, I stress, we are here for you tonight. So if you have any queries about the exhibition, practical, logistical, artistic, whatever it might be, we're here to answer them for you. Just a couple more I'm going to pick up. Oh, Charlotte, she's with us. She's off to Bluebells tomorrow. Oh, fantastic. They're early. Has everyone else noticed that in the locale? They're already out in my garden. They've been out for a couple of weeks. So if you're thinking about doing it, get on with it. Martha's in lovely Madeira and Mike is in freezing France. So there we go. Some lovely alliteration there. All right, good. Let's jump into the questions, and I'll try to point them at whoever I think is the most suited, and or we can all throw our two penneth in. And Charlie, I'm going to come to you on this one because this is a question that has come in from someone who can't be with us live, but they wanted to register their question. And obviously the exhibition, we sold spaces for people, and we're encouraging obviously people to fill their space in the way they see fit. And we actually did a live stream with some of our ideas about how to curate for your space. And so people can find that on YouTube. If you get the Light and Land YouTube page, you'll find that live stream from January, I believe. But the question here, and then I will shut up because I've talked a lot, is it okay to have a mix of black and white images and colour, or is it better to stick to just one theme? And they're obviously talking about within their allocated space. So Charlie, thoughts if you can on that for us, please.
I think it's a very good question, especially if you like to specialize in both black and white and color, but they are completely different animals. They really, really are. My feeling, if I were doing this, I think I would have all color or all black and white. I think if one had a large number of images on a wall, let's say 30 or 40, and you had the entire gallery, which is something really pretty nice, then you could perhaps have black and white and color, but you would leave a space, and you'd be rather smart, I think, if you had a merging of color to black and white, so that you didn't have any blatant black and whites and blatant color. So in other words, the relationship between the last black and white and the first color must be a smooth one. It's much the same in a book. I remember thinking that that's really quite important when you go from black and white to color. But my preference, I think, would be all color or all black and white. And if you feel at home with either of those and more at home with black and white and color and the other way around, then I would specialize in black and white. And both are hugely popular. And color photographers often do black and white and the other way around. So regrettably, I just have to leave it open, but you're in what you think in here is the key, really.
Yeah, I think I will throw my 2 pence in because it's free and we've got 1 minute to hear it. I would agree in general, and I think what's probably worth considering is someone will be meandering around, a viewer will be meandering around, looking at these various spaces, panels, whatever you want to call them. And I think the goal is to have a coherent aesthetic to grab and to display as clearly as possible your aesthetic vision for this space. And I suspect that is more easily achieved or more strongly delivered in either black and white or color in one decision. That's my opinion. And you're right, Charlie, with a bigger space, a solo exhibition, something like that's a whole different conversation. But it's being mindful of what's available to you here and the fact you'll be in amongst a load of other things. That would be my opinion anyway. Astrid, any other thoughts before I move us on to the next question?
No, I fully agree with what you both said. So I would stick to one or the other. Not because it's the only solution, but because it gives you a better chance to convey your intent and your message with your set more easily than if you mix them, which might present more challenges to the viewer.
In this particular instance, exactly. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So just a couple of others saying hello to us, and then I'll get to the next question. Marilyn from Ontario, Canada, fantastic. Peter, hello in showery Preston, and Alex in cloudy London. I love the fact we all give our weather, which is fun as well. It's raining. It's Dorset, of course it's raining. That's what we do. All right, good. I'm going to go to the second question that was already sent in. And just a reminder, everyone, if you've got any queries about it and you're watching live, please hit those into the comments box and I will pick them up. I'll cover every question that's there, okay? Second question that was already sent in, though. And again, Charlie, I'll come to you primarily on this first. Are there implications that may not be obvious in the choice between open versus limited editions? Brackets, I assume a general expectation that open prints will be less expensive than limited. Now, this is this could turn into a big question, but let's just deal with it as we've got vis-a-vis the particular exhibition in September. Any thoughts about this, Charlie, in terms of how to deal with open versus limited, and what that might, or things to consider if you're looking at those two options of your prints?
Well, it's a big subject, and much as I'd like to compare it to the US, I won't. But nevertheless, it is a very, very big subject, and it's absolutely true for the person who's asked this question to say that a limited edition is a device, really, to try and elevate photography, and quite right too, to a price that suggests that it's got a greater value. Each image has, each number in the edition has, simply because when that edition expires, that's it. That is the understanding. But there's a guild, I feel, still called the Fine Art Guild, who used to frown on another edition being produced in a smaller or larger size. But that is becoming more common. And in the US, I will just actually add to that very quickly, is that as the edition expires, the price goes up, and their editions are historically much smaller than the ones we have here. Now, lithographs might go to 750 and 1,000, but prints, more often than not, are, let us say, in the region of 25, 50, 75, and perhaps 100 at the most. And yes, the prices they do go up. Some people decide to put them up. So again, it's an entirely personal decision. But one thing I would like to stress is that a limited edition reminds people of the value of a photograph. That photograph took some generating. It took something to do. It really did. And it is special. And I'm often in favor of a limited edition. Open edition, absolutely. That suggests to the potential buyer there could be hundreds of thousands of the same photograph, and cheap. And I have fairly strong feelings. I would have either all edition or all open edition, all open or all editioned. And if they are editioned, then you have to jolly well keep a very sound record of what numbers were released and what the prices were charged for those limited editions. So it needs monitoring, and it needs a professional approach. It really does. I'm sure Astrid might like to add to that.
Yeah, Astrid, any extra thoughts on that? Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah, I by and large agree. There's just one other thing, excuse me, that I've been sort of looking into for a while. There is an American photographer, but I won't say names now, but he believes to make his art affordable to people, and he's not working with limited editions as such, but he's producing editions of print runs. So, for example, this is the edition of 5 that are printed on the 1st of October 2023, and there is 5 prints are made in that print run. This is print number 1, print number 2, whatever. But if that expires, or if he decides to make another, like with a book, you can have another print run on the 1st of May 2024 and produce another 3 prints in that session. And so although they're numbered and they're numbered and marked, and when they were produced, they're not limited as such, which I think is an interesting concept. And it means he's deliberately avoiding the ultimate sort of limitation, and is pricing his work so that he feels it is affordable for everybody. It's just another thought, which is I think it is an interesting approach. It doesn't help with making the image, feel more valuable because there's a really limited availability, but it's another approach if somebody really doesn't like the idea of a complete limitation. Worth considering if you so feel inclined.
Yeah, okay. I mean, this is kind of part of a wider conversation about pricing, which we haven't gone into in any great depth because I think it's such a broad topic. We have given a little bit of advice on this on the last couple of live streams. We've touched on it at various points, and I think the general vibe here is it would be, I don't think it'd be wholly productive for us just to say, hey, here's an amount that we think an A4 thing should cost, okay? Because I don't think that's productive to just drop a single figure on it, and that's why you'll notice we haven't done that on any of the live streams. However, if you've committed already and you're still really unsure about your pricing, and you maybe want a bit more of a steer, and I don't want to speak out of turn here, but if you are already and you've got your space and you have a query on that side of things that you're feeling a little bit lost, then I'm sure we can help you in a kind of, if you do get in touch with us basis. As someone in but outside of this situation, I would say obviously pricing depends on some degree. There's 2 ways of looking at this. I'm going to keep it as brief as I can though. Will someone know who you are when they come in that door if it's not one of your immediate friends or family? Yes or no? There'll be a handful of people there that may be known in some ways in the photography world, some won't. Does that or does that not matter depending on the images? If someone really loves your image, I would contend they may be willing to spend whatever it is on it within reason because they've fallen in love with that particular image. And is your presentation of the high quality if you're going to put a high price in it? I'm talking the print type, the frame, how it looks in the frame, how you've mounted it on the wall, etc. So all these things need to come together. If you're going to go premium on your price, that space better look premium, and everything within it, every one of the 20 things that could change within it, your mounting and everything else, if they don't look premium, then it's going to be harder to match that price. Vice versa, you may want to just make the work as approachable as possible and gamble on hopefully selling a few, but at a lower price, simple economics. Then you can bear that in mind in how you frame and everything else as well. So big topic. Hopefully we've given you some things. I'm not going to go any deeper than that. Next question. A couple of others have joined in. Oh yes, Ian. You've won the Snow Award, Ian, over there. Paulette in Cambridge, South Coast, Hertfordshire, Janice, and Hugh. Dry North. There's a couple of Dorseters on the call already. Let's carry on with the questions though, because we've got a couple that have already come in, and so we're going to keep going on those. Astrid, this is a more practical question, and I've had to shorten a couple of these for the people watching who sent them in later. I've had to shorten a couple because I've got a character limit, but hopefully they get the same point across. Is the easiest way to organise multiple copies, i.e. multiple sales, simply to repeat orders and have the item sent directly to the purchaser? So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this person is alluding to the fact that if they sold multiple versions of a print that's on display, what's the best way to deal with that, essentially?
Well, we will have order forms, so we will take all details from the buyer and we will convey that information immediately to the exhibitor. So you know immediately if there's been a sale. So all the pictures have to stay on the wall until we take down the exhibition. If your first purchaser, who will have bought the picture that hangs on the wall, can pick it up at the end, that's great, within the times that we have specified, or you pick it up and you then organize shipping accordingly. If you have sold something more than once, so if an image sold more than once, then obviously you'll get knowledge of it as soon as we have it, and you can then organize production, printing, framing, whatever, and arrange shipment to the buyer as soon as it's ready. Just depending on your way of doing things, just make your purchaser aware of how long it might take. So for example, if you print yourself and you then take it to a framer and it takes 3 weeks for the framer to fiddle with it, then say, I deliver within 4 weeks. If you order it with our partner CV, for example, and they say, okay, it takes X number of days, then you can advise them accordingly and have the shipping address perhaps directly to the purchaser. We will take payments, and unless there's a card fee, anything less that, everything we take will then at the end of the exhibition immediately be paid out to all the exhibitors. So what we can confirm whether we've taken payment, and then you're free to organize production of second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth sales.
Okay, actually, I'm gonna keep rolling with you because the next question pretty much is actually very connected, and we've sort of covered a little bit about what would the timeline be to deliver prints that are purchased. So we've kind of solved that. I'm stuck on it already. Just a query though, Astrid: will the seller get contact information for the buyers or just address details? Do we know that? Because I'm just thinking in terms of communication. Generally, people don't mind waiting for something if they know what's going on. Do we know what details are being shared at which point yet?
Yeah, all details will be shared because it's the seller's responsibility to organize delivery and shipment of their sales. Yeah. So it'll be address details, names, emails, telephone numbers.
Okay, great.
So whatever we have, we'll pass on straight away.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. So communicating with your buyer is really, really important. So that they won't be nervous if it's going to take a few weeks. If you've told them it's going to take a few weeks,
Yeah.
they'll be
Yeah.
nervous when they don't hear anything and they've paid money for something and you haven't communicated with them. So that's just
Yeah, and
bear in
if
mind.
there's information, for example, that specific information relating to your work, I can have a notebook, we can have notes, and if somebody says, how quickly can I have this from Joe Blogs, I could look up in our notebook and say, well, it says here 4 weeks to delivery or whatever it is. We can, convey that kind of information as well, so we can communicate with your buyer. But as soon as we have information, we'll pass it straight on, all the information.
Cool. I think I'm going to come to another one here, but what I would just throw in from what I've heard and what we've talked about before, yeah, it might even be sensible to just hang on till the end of the exhibition, know what you have or haven't sold, action all those things. If you're using a partner Siwi, for example, and you want to get a couple of things printed with them, just wait. You'll know what you've got at the end of the time. You'll know what your inventory needs to be. Action that. Communicate with your buyer. Off you go, kind of thing. So, on a similar vein, though, and you've sort of alluded to that a little bit in terms of time frame. The question here that was again sent in from somebody who couldn't be with us live: how do I show available sizes / options for the photographs? I.e., if it's printed on the wall with an A3 and a white frame at a particular price, what if I want to indicate that they could also order an A2 with a different frame or whatever it might be? What would you suggest there, Astrid?
We will have labels on the wall, obviously, for each exhibit, and there won't be terribly much space, but I suggest it'll say, for example, Sunrise endorsed by Joe Blogs, price, whatever it is, and in the catalog that we have, or we'll have a section of the catalog, or sort of a separate little catalog with all the size and price information in it. But there will be space on the label for a one-liner, for example, alternative frames, sizes, whatever available. And I would just suggest having that. And if somebody's interested, then we can pass on your details or pass them on the contact details, whatever, and they can get in touch. Or we can take their details and pass them on to the exhibitor.
Okay.
But other options available, or available in black as well, or whatever. So a one-liner will be no problem. There'll be space enough on the actual label.
Could I just add? May I add?
A2 or some. That's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Charlie. What was
I was interrupting. It might be worth remembering that the moment you start introducing options, be it limited edition or open editions, or whatever it might be, I won't talk about artist proof, but at the moment you offer more options, one does really have to keep a very, very tight control in terms of order, who gets it, what sizes, what prices, because the last thing one wants is for a potential buyer to be in a position of not being able to understand, because it's not everything, it's not something that everybody does know when it comes to buying a photograph. So it's uncharted waters for many people. So just keep tight control of it.
Yeah, and also I think the more options you offer, the more confused buyers might be. And then they might think, oh, A3 may be nice, but what about if we hang it above this? Then maybe A2. We better measure it again and all that, and they may actually walk off without making a decision. And then once they're gone, so I think be careful with the options. That they might just sometimes.
Yeah.
Can I throw a query? I'm trying to think in terms of an exhibitor here. What about offering a print only option? Because I suspect what's driven this question is that the seller or the exhibitor is thinking here, well, what if they don't want that exact size or they don't like that exact frame, but they like my picture, I don't want to lose that sale.
Yeah.
Would one option be to say, for example, print only available for blah? Because if someone may, you don't want the frame that it's in right there to stop the purchase, do you? So that could be a potential
no problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if they have framed 300 quid, print only 200, whatever, no problem.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. that's another way around it, everyone. So good, thank you. There's another one that had come in before, and I've seen a couple of things come up in the comments, which I'm going to come back round to. So I will come to that. Comments from Mark, Barry as well. I'll come to you in just a sec. I just want to get through these ones which had already been sent in first. Charlie, I might come to you on this first. Is it a good idea to get an artist's blind stamp? And if so, how should I go about it? Also, would it matter if my brand logo changes in the future?
Yes, very good question. I think graphic designer is the first port of call, who would, I think, do a good job. Years ago, I did it. I was advised to just have my initials, CW. Now it's something that a lot of people have done. And I'm sure I wasn't by any means the first, but I felt it was an attractive thing. And I put it down in the bottom left-hand corner next to the limited edition number. It's very discreet, and I think it's rather enjoyable for people. It doesn't necessarily elevate the work, but it gives it, I don't know, it gives it a certain, it's difficult to find the word. It's really
panache.
Very subtle. Panache, yes, that's good. Gives it a little bit of panache, and it will stay there. There is something else one could do, which is I have something that called care of a fine art print. I'm never quite sure what fine art means. There's these fancy words being used, but just to remind people when with a photograph, not to have it in the sunshine. Various little things you can think about, but I think the monogram, the blind stamp, is attractive, and I think calligrapher made mine, and he did it in about 5 minutes. Just phenomenal flair, just beautifully done, and CW seemed to blend in quite well. But I think SG would, and so it's a lovely fun thing to do, and it's not too expensive. And then the calligrapher or the designer would know exactly where to go to get it manufactured. And mine's about 1/2 inch across. It's circular.
Yeah, yes. And I think that there was a query about the brand logo in the future. I mean, I think in general, yes, that could happen. Consistency of brand, if you think of any big brand, I mean, this is an extreme thing I'm talking about, obviously, Nike, Apple, whatever, they don't change their logos. Charlie's had that one. He's still got that one. So, really, it's not something you should be generally doing for any great reason anyway. It's usually an admission the first one wasn't right. It's the only reason to do it, right? So get the first one right and you have to change it.
Yeah.
Astrid, any thoughts on that? Are you happy with what we've covered? And then I'll get into the viewer questions that have come in.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's an attractive thing to do. I've always wanted to do it, and I've never found someone to make it, really. And the only things I saw were like 1.5 inches across, and I thought this is just too big. So I've never actually found somebody to make this for me. But I better keep looking.
We'll do some research on that. I
exactly.
can't
No,
multitask.
I think it's a lovely thing. It's kind of, you complete the whole thing. You print it, you sign it, whether it's limited or open, number it perhaps, and you kind of, you present it as your finished product. This is what I've made, and I think this sort of little blind stamp is quite a nice thing. I do think it's great.
A small thing to add is I went through lots of different pencils, and I found finally that some papers don't take pencils terribly well, lightweight. So 4B, a pencil which has got 4B on it, is a really good one. And,
we're all looking at our pencils.
They are.
Yeah, that's a really good point though, because especially if you're printing it yourself and the paper isn't cheap and the ink certainly isn't cheap, you don't want to be doing the test on the thing you've just printed for the exhibition. Yeah, you want to do that, find an old print you've made or something like that, run a few different pencils or pen or whatever, and then look at them the next day or the day after when you've had time to think about it and choose your action, I suppose. That's the thing.
And practice your signature.
Yes.
Or whatever you want to go for your signature on a print.
Yeah.
I remember I started out with some scribble that I didn't like afterwards, and so it's part of the whole parcel. So you might want to.
Yeah. Details make the difference. Details make the difference, everyone.
They do.
In the same way, when you're composing that picture in the field and you're attentive to those details there, that detail needs to go through everything. How you print it, how you frame it, how you mount it, how you list it, how you curate it on the wall, how you talk about it, everything. And when you get all those details in a line, you're in business, basically. Right. There you go. That's my hot tip for the day. We've done really well because we've done 30 minutes and we've covered all the pre-questions. There's a few things that have come in. So guys, are you okay to give us 5-10 more minutes? I'm okay if you're okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, fab.
Yeah.
Let's just rattle through them. A couple of comments and a couple are questions. Let's just hit one of the comments. This is an interesting one that Mark has said. Unlimited prints, please, for us poor people that just love art, wish to support the photographer, but cannot afford big prices. And I mean, there is something to be said for that. You know, if you are at the higher end, you are appealing, or your market is smaller. So you have to think in odds of percentages. And all those things we talked about earlier on in the live stream. So I won't add anything else to that, but it's an interesting comment. Barry, because here's a technical thing, and again, I know there's not an answer here, but planning several images to be displayed. This is Barry, who's done lots with us, and he's put how much space is required, and that's a very interesting word, between each image. And the second part of this question is who prints the image information next to the print? Astrid, can I just throw that second bit at you because there's a definite answer there?
Yes, we've been recommended. Well, we haven't quite decided yet, but to take care of printing the labels for everybody so that it's the consistent information. There will be about. Let me look at my ruler. There will be about, say, 4 inches by 3 inches or so, or thereabouts. There may be a specific size in our how-to guide, but we'll provide those labels and there'll be specific information on it. Now, the label can be in different positions. Normally, it'll be either next to the image or underneath it. If you have a set, however, of say 3 pictures or 6 pictures or 9 pictures or whatever that need to hang close together because of a set, then we can probably stick them on the side, or there may only be one label if it's a whole set that belongs together. So we need to look at that probably in detail. There is no minimum distance required as such. Just be mindful that somewhere we need to put your information of what the work is called and how much it costs. And the other thing to be mindful is that that you potentially give a couple of inches or whatever on the outside of your space if you're bordering another space. So if people were to plan the exact outer dimensions of their space and the neighbor does exactly the same thing, there'll be a clash because the mirror plates will stick into each other, you know. So do be mindful that you have to have a little sort of gap on the sides if you are on a wall where you have your space next to somebody else. But as I said, so I think we have in the how-to guide, we may have the exact label size already in there. These are ones recommended by the gallery as well because of the way they stick to the wall and all that. So we've had things before where this stuff has fallen off the wall and all that. So we're going to make sure we have this. I can have a very quick look. I know we have labeling somewhere here in the
Yeah, while you're having a quick look, Astrid, I was just going to quickly flash up the fact that there is sorry, I'm just going to hide that for a sec, Barry. There is a how-to guide, which when you sign up, this is a PDF document which is actually being updated and will come to everyone that signed up. Which, if I rattle through just quickly to the contents, there's all manner of stuff that's covered in here as well to give you some more help: printing, framing, delivery to the gallery, parking, installation, labeling, etc., etc. And so this will be a sort of a mini Bible's the wrong word, but you know what I'm saying. It's kind of the thing that we want you to refer back to so that everyone's got the same information and can interpret it in the same way, and we'll make that as absolutely clear as it can be. So that how-to guide will obviously be available for all participants. Okay, so just so you know,
Yeah,
and
this
that's
is
all covered in there.
it's actually a work in progress, so we update it as we go along with more information that becomes available. We don't have the actual label size in there, but it's I don't know, call it 3 or 4 inches
Yeah.
or thereabouts. So a normal label size. No long epistles will be written on it. But keep in mind, if you have images that need to hang really close together, keep some space on the side. If you hang quite high or low, remember that people don't want to grovel on the floor in order to be able to see your labels, because also the print size won't be massive. So keep that in mind when you
Yeah.
Sam, may I add something?
Yes, please.
Very small. In the when the not in the when the event comes that an image is sold, have your little red or green dots. Ideally, consistency probably in a red dot. But it is the fact that a lot of people still feel that one red dot means that image is sold, and that there will be no others ever available. So in the case of a limited edition, that's obvious that there will be more available. But that red dot for many people means that's it. And they just say, oh, look, it's sold. That means we can't buy it, which means there was a one of one, that would be fairly unlikely and very bold on the part of the creator of the work. So do be prepared, do be assured that we will cover that. I think I'm right in saying, Astrid, that will be covered, the sort of the theory about the red dot, won't it?
Yes, the theory will be covered. Yeah, I mean, and obviously the gallery is attended all the time. There's several of us going to be there all the time. Maybe we'll produce a little flyer for people, for visitors, that we can hand out about the red dots and all that. But we will have red dots, and we will make sure that people know that more than one are available.
Yeah.
To be
Okay.
bought.
Cool. And literally a very quick thing, Barry. I know you were talking about the space between, blah, blah, blah. I would refer you back. I know you watched it and you're probably with us live. Go back and have a look at that curating live stream we did, because you've got to think about that space as a single image in a weird way. Even if there's multiple images in it, think about it as a single image. How are you framing what's in that space of yours? And Astrid was saying, you can't plan to the edge. And I would very simply mock up a scale version on a piece of A4, vertical or landscape, depending on what space you've got or wherever. Scale it back, whatever that scale is, and draw with it and think about the spaces that way. Anyway, I'm going to move on because we've got 2 or 3 more things to hit. Charlotte, hello, Charlotte. Very specific question here. I don't know if we're going to know the answer to this, but let's ask it now. And if not, we can follow up, I'm sure. If you're ordering via Seawe, is there a possibility to put a limited edition number to the print? I'm not sure, Charlotte, forgive me if I'm dim here. Are you alluding that they would put that on, or that how would you get it on there before the exhibition if you're not sending that physical print in yourself? I suspect that might be what you're kind of angling at. Any leaping in from Astrid?
Yeah. So there are several options with Seawe. If you have something printed on aluminium or on acrylic, unless you have the number within your image and it is printed, then no, you can't put the number on it. You can stick a label on at the back, perhaps, and saying this is limited or whatever, but you won't be able to have that on. With the frames, again, you send off your order and it will be delivered. These are made in one of the laboratories, and I don't think unless you can have you get your frames delivered, you can open them up, no doubt, and sign it, but you have to be mindful of where you want to do that. So, for example, if you want to sign on the mount, that's great. Sign on the mount. If you want to sign on the print, then you have to have the gap. So you have to make sure that your mount doesn't cover the whole area, and then the number wouldn't be visible. But you would have to open what they've done and then re-close the frame. Otherwise, I recommend, if you want to go for limited edition and you want to sign it and number it, that you use a separate framer. I have put details of my framer in the how-to guide. Dave Kirtland, who can print and frame your work, and he can leave the frame open. You can visit, you can sign the stuff before he closes it or whatever. So that's not an issue. Or you can sort of send you the print. I mean, shipping it back and forth, particularly if you're abroad, obviously is more difficult. But there are obviously options. I usually drive there, and when he prints my stuff, and then I sign it, and then he closes the frames, as it were. But with Seaweed, there are obviously limits to, because this is produced ready-made, as it were, in a laboratory. So you'd have to undo their frame, which I'm not sure if there's much point in doing that, because then you have to do it up again.
Yeah, I think the key is to think through beforehand, and I know I'm not suggesting that, Charlotte, because it's specific, I think, especially because of where you are, if you're not based over here. I think just think through from the beginning of how do I want the end thing to look, and then sort of work it back. Well, which bit's got to happen in which order, if I can print myself or if someone else is printing, or maybe there's a compromise if you can't add that, but the other solution is generally better for you, then that's the compromise, I suppose. But we can help with that, obviously, Charlotte, as usual. A couple of quick comments and then a couple of questions, and then we will wrap up tonight. Yes, Hugh says, sensible. I would advise an artist signature rather than the one on the back of your credit card. Something simple and unique to the author. Yeah, but it's good thinking, Hugh. It's fair. Adriano has said here, Bolsons do a good job making the stamps. Thank you, Adriano. That's something we can all check out. Bolsons appear to be a company that might be able to do those artist blind stamps we mentioned earlier. So everyone go and have a Google for Bolsons, but not yet. Give us 5 minutes, then you're allowed out. Lorraine has asked, should we provide a certificate of authenticity if it's a limited edition print to include on the back? So yeah, I suppose, Charlie, what are your feelings about certificates of authenticity?
I do them when asked for them. I actually am in favour of it. Yes, I am. I think it's something that will provide the buyer with a degree of authenticity, and that's really important. And that is the word, after all. And I think actually it shows that it's professional. And I have to admit, I sometimes forget to do it, but and one or two people do say they'd like it. But there's always been a preamble beforehand about the image, about the size and everything, so they know that it's from my hand, as it were. But I think it's a thing that I would encourage, and it could just be quite simple and straightforward, perhaps a couple of paragraphs. With no address or anything, no information, but just the fact that it was you who made the image, and if you like, you could add that it was either printed by you, but personally I don't think that's of any great consequence. But yes, I think I'd encourage it. Astrid and Sam, would you both do the same if you want to do it?
Yeah, definitely. I think.
I like that as well. Yeah, I mean, I have a label on the back anyway, normally, which says some of the details of the image, the editions and all that. And also, for example, if I have it printed by my printer framer, then printed by comes on it, on which paper, so the people have an idea of who made the print or the frame as well. But the certificate is a nice thing.
I think, put yourself in the position of the recipient. If it's the same if you buy a nice book from a photographer or from any artist. If they open it up and it's tactfully done and it's in a nice material, or in this instance there's the certificate alongside with it, bit of information, blah blah, that's a nicer experience than just here's that thing you bought. Right? So I think that's the chance to drop your little seed in their brain forever, rather than just a single come and go. All right. Thank you, Lorraine. Fab question. And yes, Charlotte, yes, it could be tricky if the frame is sealed And thank you, Astrid, for the answer. So absolutely a really good point there.
And I don't know how they're sealed. I'd have to just look it up. I think there are pictures on the website of what they look like at the back. There's a little hanging sort of contraption on it, so it may not be advisable to cut open what's been carefully prepared.
Yeah. Okay, couple of quick ones left, and then we're going to wrap up, everyone, because I appreciate you've given me a bit more time than we kind of budgeted for. Glyn, what is the wall color?
Yeah, well, most wall spaces are white, and there are some that are dark gray. The space when you go on the internet on our website to book a space, it tells you what the wall color of that particular space is.
Okay.
The interesting thing is that when we last visited, the gallery had decided to experiment and painted all the dark gray spaces dark green. So and we've demanded that it's going to be dark gray again, because people will have made their choice, perhaps on the basis of that. But we'll talk about that again with them obviously later. But it is marked on the website what wall color it is. But most of them are white, except for a few that are dark gray. I think most of them have sold by now. So
good question though, because it does depend therefore what frame types you put on it. So absolutely a huge part of the overall presentation, isn't it? So thank you, Glyn. Tim has asked a question here. Sorry, I'm just going to grab to that. Thank you, Tim. I've not done this before, and I think the reason I thank you, Tim, is I suspect this is something that a lot of people might want to ask but haven't asked it, or are worrying about it, or considering it, or unsure. A slight point of view of reassurance. Is there any opportunity, because he's not done this before, to share the images I plan to exhibit in advance for comments and thoughts from Charlie and or the team? Now, I'm just going to throw this to Astrid and Charlie. Obviously, there's logistical challenges when we take into account the numbers of people that might be involved, but I don't know what you guys feel about this. I don't want to throw you a curveball, so to speak. But Astrid, what are your feelings here about how we can potentially help Tim?
Yes, well, there's always the chance for a quick comment and say, "Yep, looks great. I think it's great," or "This one sticks out. Maybe you want to think about replacing this," or whatever. But what we obviously have to be mindful of is the time. So if suddenly 20 people want an extensive review of their selected images, then it might be better to book a portfolio review, a 1-hour review with Charlie, for example, or with one of the other tutors to sort of go into more depth, as it were. But for a quick one, I think we're happy to have a look. So I'm leaning out of the window here, but by all means, just give us a shout. I'm always happy to have a look at stuff, and I'm sure Charlie is too. But it won't be very in depth. For that, if you need a little bit more time, then it's best to book a review, and then you get a full hour of time. And
and I think if I can sort of be the independent person in the room, in that I'm more the host here than anything else. I think that's a very fair answer, because I think it would be logistically impossible to give everyone an in-depth help on that. But obviously the quick eye and experience is good. But I think in terms of your general photography and how you think about curating, I would think about, as Astrid has alluded to, the team and photographers generally often do offer portfolio reviews, critiques, etc. And in the States, Charlie alluded to this earlier on a different topic. That's a huge thing. There's a lot of people mentoring and having critiques online and all the rest of it. And in the UK, it's not really so much a thing. People tend to think more about just a workshop or the gear or whatever it might be. But it's a really fantastic way to improve your photography and think about your photography and all elements of it, not just in the field, but also how you present your work to the public. So you might, spend that hour or with Charlie or Astrid, whoever it might be, and you would come away not just with some information about this very specific topic of the exhibition, but with a better understanding generally of how your images might work and things you might think about for your own work going forward, how you present it on your website if you have one, or whatever it might be. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Tim. And I think just as a final point, and Charlie, I'll ask you if I can, just to keep this super brief, because we've run way over. We know that a lot of people are probably a bit unsure still. It's a big, scary thing to exhibit. The reason why we've done a lot of these live streams is to kind of just open our arms a little bit and encourage you in and say, don't worry, you'll be with other people in a similar boat. We're here to give you as much help as possible. But it is a big step, but it's also a very rewarding one, Charlie, isn't it? And that's what we want to really encourage.
It's absolutely brilliant that you've highlighted this element of exhibiting. I have a little phrase, everybody must be bored of it: the print is the photograph's rightful inheritance. And there is no question about it. It elevates your photography, it elevates you as a photographer, and it introduces you to an entirely new, wonderful world of exhibiting. And we absolutely have to, because if we don't, our images are going to be, as I often say, imprisoned on an external hard drive for the rest of their lives. And this marvelous opportunity to share your view on the world, your experience of your response to your world around you, and you're offering that to other people, to the visitors. And it's hugely rewarding. You can engage in discussion and have a really deep conversation about your work. So I think it's a really most wonderful thing to do, but it's also pivotal for you to be able to say, yes, I attended to all of these elements, every single one of them, and I've got it right. The images on the walls, on my area, on my space, are the ones I wanted to be there. So I think, Tim, hello, by the way, I think you made an extremely good point, and thank you for raising it. And Sam, thank you too for your comments.
Good stuff. Okay, well,
we'd love to help.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Charlie and Astrid, both, thank you for various reasons. There's been all sorts of excitement today that we don't need to tell you about behind the scenes, but we all made it here, just about, including me. And I really appreciate you giving lots of time. And I'm sure everybody watching actually does as well. And actually, just with that in mind, Marilyn, very kind. Thank you for the inspiration. And Charlie, that's just what we all need to hear. Thank you all. Rob, another great session. Hope you recover soon. Astrid, yes, absolutely. She's like, just shut up and let me go, Sam. Adriano, thank you, very informative. Thank you, Adriano, for the tip on the artist stamp. Everyone will be checking out that. You should have got a commission. Louise, thank you. Barbara, thank you. And Peter, thank you as well. So yeah, nice one. Thank you so much, everyone. We've covered a lot of stuff. And final thing, we will be back with some more live streams coming up. I've been a bit slack about organising those because I've been very, very busy. But myself and Astrid are going to get on the case, and we'll be going back to some sort of themed live streams, a bit like we did with Ed and Tom when we did the winter session that I did with them. We'll have some of those. We'll also have some location-based ones as well with some different leaders, including Astrid and hopefully Charlie in the future as well. So keep your eyes on the newsletter and on the socials, and we'll obviously let you know when those live streams are coming. But for now, thank you very much for watching. Thank you both to Charlie and Astrid. And we hope we covered everything about the exhibition. If in doubt, let us know. But we shall see you soon. Goodbye. Cheerio. Thank you.